Okay, I'm not live yet. Cool. So this is all working. Awesome. All right. Yep. Come on. Come on. How are we looking? Good. Okay, I'm not live yet. Cool. So this is all working. All right, whatever. I don't want it to repeat on me. Keep it playing. Keep it live. But let's open up Cubase here. I'm gonna have to pull it up on my phone and see how things are looking, because I can't tell. Because so it says it's live. Okay. So let me go to this. All right, whatever. I don't want it to repeat on me. Keep it. Okay, that looks good. And let's. How do I share from my phone? I don't know how to do that. Oh, there we go. Share to. Let's just copy the link. I wish I had the thumbnail, but I don't. So what I'll have to do is put the thumbnail in my move, send, see, copy, move to Dropbox, and paste that, and let that sync up. See if anybody's in here just yet. Doesn't look like it. That's cool. That's all cool. I guess you guys saw some files, but whatever. That's not that big of a deal. I'm not really worried about that. But once that gets through to Dropbox, then I can do this on my phone. Yep. Export. Save to my device. Sure. Downloads. Okay. Go to Instagram. And nope, that's my personal. Let me go to the channel and add a photo. Add this. Next. Next. Come join the new mix dissection of last year's Christmas metal cover. And let's put some emojis in there because you got to have those. And down, paste the link. Join me live. And share to Facebook. And share to Twitter. Hit share. And that should be good. Okay. Alrighty, you guys. You've been staring at my little setup here this whole time. So you can see OBS and this and Cubase. But everything seems to be working good. So I'm going to leave it at that. And alright. So basically what I'm going to do with this is I've done in the past those Dissolve the Mix series, which I don't know if that name really stuck with me too much, unless you guys think otherwise. So I'm calling this one a mix dissection. Sounds a little more metal. But since the holidays are coming up and I don't quite have the holiday video done just yet, I figured I would look back to last year's holiday video and do a mix dissection on the All I Want for Christmas Is You metal cover that I did. So that can be fun. Let me pull this up. Keep it live. All right, play. I'm gonna turn this down. Just want to keep it live so I can keep up with chat. But yeah, so I wanted to do a mix dissection on this, just because of the holidays and stuff, and because it was an interesting mix for me to do. So I'll just kind of jump into it. Right here. So if you're watching, great. Thanks for tagging along. I might not be able to see your chats if you guys are all in here, only because of the way I have it set up. I can only see Cubase right now. If I open up chat on my computer, you'll see that too, because I have a display capture. It captures everything. So I'll be looking at my phone occasionally just to make sure I'm catching you guys if you're asking questions or anything. So don't freak out if I don't see it. But I'm just going to kind of dive into it to get straight to it. We've waited long enough. So for starters, this was a really interesting cover to do. I remember when I was doing this, it was it's very interesting stacking of events, because I know I released this along with my original called Black Death, which was the first subscriber challenge that I did, and I released these both in the same week within 2 days of each other, and I made this entire cover in like 2 days. And that was not like 2 whole days where you got nothing going on. This was 2 days where I also had work and school. And I was really rushed. And I wish I could have spent more time on it, but I didn't. I had to get it out because I wanted it out on my normal scheduled time. And I was determined to stick to it, and that's what I did. So I kind of rushed it out into about 2 days. Before that, I had a really, really bad throat infection, and so my voice was like completely gone for like a couple weeks before this. So I was just kind of on the verge of recovering from that when I did this and Black Death. So it was an interesting preface to starting this cover, and not to mention it's a very technically challenging cover for a vocalist, and I'm no professional vocalist, so I had to dumb a lot of things down. But so what I'm gonna do is break down the mix like I haven't dissolved the mix. So I'll just kind of talk in a general sense at first, and then I can kind of pinpoint more stuff and get more detailed later on. So overall, this is more of an old setup. I don't set up my sessions like this anymore, but this gives you kind of a glimpse into what I used to do. So at the top, I have this MT Power Drum Kit 1. And that's the drums that I used at the time. I do not use those anymore. Below that, I have drums, which is an actual audio file waveform. You can see that maybe in the orange. I'll blow it up a little bit later. It's the same drums as the MIDI drums above it. But what I would do is, because I am limited on track numbers that I can use in Cubase, I would export the MIDI of the drums when I was finished with the song to a separate project, dissolve the parts out so that I could mix each individual drum by itself and EQ and all that fun stuff. Then I would render that and export that out as an audio file, and then re-import it into the original project and have that be the drums. So it was a process back then. Next up, I have the electric bass, and that is MIDI as well, I believe. Yeah, it's a MIDI bass, which, it gets the job done, but it's not anything great. Anything MIDI is never going to be as good as the real thing, unfortunately, but they are getting better. This one is I think this is just like the one that comes with Cubase. It's like one of its native MIDI basses. So it's an electric bass. It's under the picking part of it. I think there's a finger style and a pick style bass that you can pick from. I picked a pick one because I wanted it to be, very attacky, very heavy. Next to that, I have some other instruments. All these yellow are more MIDI, just miscellaneous MIDI stuff. So I have an acoustic grand piano, another acoustic grand piano, an electric grand piano. I have a DigiLayer keys, which are some interesting keys. Tubular bells, a glockenspiel, a virtuoso, which is like a string section, and a brass section. All MIDI, all from various things. Everything you see with GM and a number, those are native to Cubase. Anything that doesn't is usually something extra. Although brass, I think, is part of Cubase as well. The virtuoso and the DigiLayer keys are not native. Neither is the drum kit, the MT Power Drum Kit that I'm using. That is not either. Next up, I've got 4 guitars laid out. Guitar 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are my rhythms, and they're all separated left, right, hard panned out, just to give it a big epic sound, wall of guitar, you know, metal sound. Below those, I have the solo for the guitar solo and a copy of that. Because did I do it in parts? Yeah, I did it in some parts. Just, I don't know. It was just the methodology that I had for doing it at that time, I guess. Under that, I've got some guitar extras and another guitar extras underneath that. I think those are like slides or something to fill in some gaps. Let me take a listen here and see what they sound like. What is this? Yeah, so they're like slides and stuff to... Yeah, they're just kind of transition type of sounds just to fill in some space. Below that, I have my vocals. So I have the lead vocal 1, a copy of that. I have a lead vocal 2 and a copy of that. So I was doing basically quad tracking the vocals at certain parts, and not like I do the guitars. I usually dual track guitars back then. I do triple now, but it's a dual track with 2 instances of it. So lead vocal 1 and the copy are their own thing, and lead vocal 2 and a copy are the other thing. That way I can alternate between the two to make sure that I'm getting all the lines as best as I possibly can without having to try to crossfade a bunch of stuff. And that's basically the gist of it. I got my background vocals 1, 2, and 3, and those are panned 1 50% right, 1 50% left, and 1 in the center. I forgot to go back up here to my vocals. So my lead vocal on the left and my lead vocal on the right are panned out about 21% on either side. There's not a specific reason why it's that number. It's just that's what sounded right to me, I guess. And for the other one, I have them at 20. So they're not the same, I guess, for some reason. But I don't think that 1% difference is going to make a huge difference to your ears, honestly. I was probably, like I said, I did this in 2 days. It was a super scramble. And it's not even just this that I did in 2 days. I had to do this whole song, shoot the video, edit that all together, and put it out in 2 days. That, it was a whole lot more than just recording the song. But then below the backup vocals, the background vocals, I have my group tracks. So I have my guitars routed out to a guitar bus, my vocals to a lead voice bus, and my backups to a backup vocals. That way I can EQ and mix them as a group instead of having to click each individual one and copying effects over and all that stuff. I could just, group them all into one thing and add one effect, and it applies it to all of them, which is a very handy tool, to say the least. But that's pretty much the basis of how I had this song laid out. Most of the time, back then, I would just, have the simple drums, the bass, my guitars, and my vocals. But since this song was kind of a bigger thing, I had to add a bunch of extra stuff. So I can, let me think here. I can get into, the MIDI stuff isn't going to be very exciting. I think the biggest part that I'm going to get into is the guitars and the vocals, just because those are the more organic parts of this song. A lot of the other stuff is MIDI, so that just kind of is what it is. Not a lot to it. I think I add some compression. Let's just start with the bass. So I add some compression to the bass just to help it kind of stick out and be constant. Not that it already isn't being MIDI, but I don't think I have anything else on it. It's just that. So that's all you got for it right here. That's all it is. Yep. It's just that. That's exactly the bass. Hold on. I'm going to check and make sure this is all running good. So I'm going to turn up the volume on my phone. So I add some compression to the bass just to help it kind of stick out. Make sure it's all running right. It'd be embarrassing if it wasn't. But I don't think I have anything else on it. It's just that. So that's all you got for it right here. Oh no. That's all it is. Wait, can you hear it? Oh yeah, you can. Yep. Okay, good. Just that. That's exactly the bass. Good. I got scared for a second. All right, we're still good. Still running strong. All right. So yeah, that's the bass. There's not really a lot to it, honestly. It's just MIDI bass. It's just there to fill in the bass spot. Same thing for all the piano stuff. I muted this piano because it's got a really weird sound for some reason. It's off time. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm just not, it doesn't sound good. I don't know if that was in the final thing or if when I opened this, I messed something up. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly how to fix it, so I'm not going to mess with it. So I'm just going to keep it muted. So just kind of ignore that one's even there. So this next one is just a piano to fill in the chords and keep that Christmassy vibe, you know. It's going to keep that cheerful kind of thing going. But that's all it is. No effects, nothing. It just is what it is. Some cool chords going on, and that's about it. So I got another piano. I'm not sure where that comes in. Oh, so we got another piano below that one, and that sounds like this. I think it's like a higher, it's more of a melody thing. Oh, that might be like, yeah. Just more kind of reinforcement of the whole sound. Below that, I got some digi-layer keys to show you what that sounds like. Some cool 80s kind of electronica kind of sound. Just to keep, like, again, that Christmassy kind of vibe. Yeah. So that's, you know, what it is. There's no effects on that either. I got the tubular bells, which are pretty much in the beginning here. Or no. That's the glockenspiel. The tubular bells are this. Just kind of like a church bell. Dong! Again, adds that Christmassy flavor to it. So it's not anything special. No effects. I got the glockenspiel. That's the very beginning that you hear in the beginning of the cover. So, you know, it sounds just, you know, bells. It's a glockenspiel if you don't know what that is. It's basically like it's a bell with notes. It's notated bells basically. So it just again adds that Christmassy flavor to it, and it comes in at a few other places just to add some more time, or not time, add some more space. Time and space, are they the same? Anyway. Next below, like I said earlier, I have this DSK Virtuoso 01, which is like a string section. And let's see what that sounds like right over here. Apparently nothing. I think it's acting up. Yeah, I think it's acting up. Oops. Well, it's not like it had a lot of spots on it. Yeah, I remember this plugin kind of acts up sometimes for whatever reason, and it won't want to work correctly. I don't know if I can get it to work correctly. Maybe that's Virtuoso Strings. No. Let me see. Okay, so I'm not going to mess with it because I don't want to crash Cubase in the middle of doing this live stream with you guys. That cause a lot of problems. But basically, it's just some string section. That's really it. It doesn't have a major part in the song or anything. It's just filler. Like I said, you can see follow right here. You know, it doesn't have a lot. There's not a lot of parts for it. It's just kind of, like I said, filler. Below that, I got the brass section, which has a few parts, so we'll solo that out. It sounds like crap on its own, but when you add it to the whole mix, underneath the Christmas tree, I don't so, you know, it just it adds a little more breath to the song, and like I don't know, it just fills in the gaps. You know, a lot of times you want to fill in as much space as possible without overdoing it and destroying the song, because you don't want empty space unless it's intentional. But this just kind of fills in more gaps and helps it sound more full. And now we get to the good part. Okay, we got the guitars 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 are panned out left and right. 3 and 4, left and right, and they're hard panned 100% to their respective sides. And let's just solo them out and show you what they sound like. So it's actually kind of a thin guitar sound, if I'm going to be honest. Let's just listen to... I mean, it's kind of thin. It's not a super heavy tone or anything, but that's because I'm quad tracking. And when you start stacking up distorted guitars, that distortion and that gain really can start to muddy your mix. Now, the one thing that I'm not sure of is, do I have notes? Yes, okay, good. So I put some notes in here. So when I recorded this, this was back in a time where I wanted to test out amp simulators. And those of you that follow my channel and everything respectively, you know I have the Archetype Nolly now, which is a plugin. It's a really amazing amp and cabinet simulator, but I did not have that back then. I had some really crappy, you know, freeware versions of stuff and stuff that just wasn't that good. And like the Incredibles theme cover that I did, Black Death, and a couple other things I used amp sims on in a mix of amp sims and real amplifiers. But this one, it seems like I used my actual cabinet. So this is my Marshall valve state with that homemade cabinet that I have that you guys have seen that I no longer have with me because of the Archetype Nolly. It's taking up space that wasn't getting used. But yeah, so for guitar one, I've got the top left speaker near the rim. And now what that's referencing to is the mic position of my SM57. You know, this guy. It's where I had it pointed. That way I can come back and I can know what I did in case I want to get the sound again. So I had the mic pointed at the top left speaker on my cabinet and near the rim. So speaker 2, same thing. Speaker 2. Guitar 2 is the same thing. Guitar 3, I have it on the top right speaker, and the same thing for 4. So I have my top left and right speakers mic'd up for this song. Which now, that in hindsight, that's why it's got such a thin sound. Because that amp with the cabinet that I have produced a pretty thin guitar tone, honestly. But it's what I had. And that's the sound. But it gets the job done. Yep, and I don't really have to get into too much more than that because I thought I used amp sims on this song, but apparently not. If I go down to the group, the bus for the guitars, I have a standard compressor on there, a channel strip, just to even everything out. And then I have some EQ. So I've got let me see what I got. So I've got a high pass at about 150 hertz, minus 14.3 decibels, just to get rid of a lot of that low end that you don't need with guitars. I got a parametric EQ at 2500 hertz or 2.5K. Boosted at about 2.9 dB just to give some mid-range to the guitar, and another parametric EQ at 1.5K at about 2 decibels, and a third parametric at 6.5K at about 3.4 decibels. And what I was trying to do is kind of shape the tone a little bit to fit in the mix better. Taking out the really lows of guitars is usually a basic thing that you do just to make sure it doesn't clash with your kick drum and the actual bass guitar. And all the parametric stuff was just to kind of boost the mid-range of a guitar, which is really where it's supposed to be, is that mid-range sound in your mix. And So that's basically why I boosted it. I don't think I would do it the same now, but that's how I did it back then. This is interesting for me as well because I have not revisited this whole session since I put the song out. Once I put the song out, that's it. I don't come back to it. So I really haven't opened this in almost a year or so. So it's interesting to come back and see what I did. But that's pretty much the guitars. There's no other effects. It's just that channel strip, that compressor, and the EQ. And that gives you the guitar tone that I had. Which, I mean, again, it's choppy and it's pretty sloppy playing, but like I said, it was very, very rushed. Okay, so let's move to the solo and look at the solo wherever that is. Oh, that's in the part that I added my own flavor to this song. So let's kind of listen to that section real quick. Okay, so that's the solo section. Obviously, I have it chopped up a bit. I have that first part chopped up just to get rid of any kind of noise in between those bends that I'm doing there. But once I get up to this part of it, you can see there's three, there's the solo and the copy of the solo, the two separate tracks, and I kind of bounce between them. And I do that partly because sometimes when I write solos, I write them in chunks. And sometimes I just get great takes and I want to keep them. But I also had that mentality of like dueling guitars. And although these are, I'm pretty sure, down the center in terms of panning, like old school thrash metal bands, like more specifically Megadeth, they did a lot of like dual guitars. Dave Mustaine would go off, and then Marty Friedman, they'd go back and forth doing solos back and forth. And I think that's kind of the mentality I have when I came to writing solos and stuff like this. I'd have one, bam, that's a solo piece, then bam, another one, and it's kind of like two people dueling it out for guitar solos. And I think it's part of the reason why I did it like that, and I still do that from time to time if I want to get a certain sound. But most of the time I try to nail my solos in as few takes as possible, and as few choppy parts as possible, just because it keeps the continuity and it sounds a lot better and it doesn't sound so choppy. But what did I have for this? Okay. So this is a mix because for the solo, I did use an amp and cabinet simulator. So I've got the standard channel strip, the compressor on here. But when I go to the inserts, I have the Emissary and the Poulin or Paulin Le Cap 2. So if I open the Emissary, this is a free amplifier, amp sim, that you can download. And it's, made for metal, and you can do what you want with it. There's a lot you can do. And maybe I should come back to this for a video or something, or like Will It Metal, and see how well this amp can stack up now that I know how to use amp sims a lot better. And just really try to get out of it what I can. Oh, I never noticed there's presets for this. Huh, you learned something new. But that tells you how uneducated I was with amp sims and stuff like that. I basically just turned it on and made the cabinet section do all the work. But this basically acts just like your amp head. There's no cabinet attached with it. It's just the amp. So when you play it with just that, it sounds like poop. So like if I completely take off the inserts here, you'll hear just kind of like the direct guitar sound. That's what it sounds like without any effects. So that's like a direct guitar sound. But if I only turned on the Emissary, just the amplifier, it's going to sound really crappy. Just be ready. yeah, really like piercing, you know. There's no body to it because there's no cabinet. It's just an amplifier. It's as if you plugged like your headphones into your amplifier, you know. That's why you have cabinets. So for the cabinet, I use the Powlin LeCab 2, which is an impulse response loader, and I believe it's free as well. But this was the combination I used. So imagine this is your stack. You've got your amp on top and then your cabinet basically below. I had downloaded some free impulse responses before this time to load into this. And basically what this plugin does is it allows you to load your impulse responses. You can load up to 6 at a time into this to pretend you have a cabinet. As you can see with this, I have a Petrucci Mark V tone for two of the slots here for the cabinet, and that's replicating John Petrucci from Dream Theater, his Mesa Boogie Mark V tone through his amplifier. It's a really I can't get too deep into impulse responses and amp simulators and stuff like that because I'll just bore you guys, and that's not the point of this video. But basically what an impulse is like an impulse response is like a snapshot of a signal chain of someone's guitar. So if I wanted to do one myself, if I hooked up an amplifier with a cabinet and some guitar pedals and then mic'd up my cabinet and did the process to make one of these, it would basically, if I gave you the impulse response, you could download it, put it into an impulse response loader like the LeCab, and it could closely replicate the same signal chain that I have. It's a very complicated and weird thing, and I don't fully understand how it works, but it's really cool. And if you're on a budget and you need to be quiet and in your room and stuff like that, it's a good option. So Powlin LeCab for a cabinet simulator and impulse response loader, and the Ignite Amps Emissary amplifier by STL Tones. They put out a lot of good stuff. If you're interested, it's definitely a good thing to look into. But once you have all the amplifier and the impulse loader loaded in, this is what you can get. Wait, oh, it turned off, but yeah. So that's what you can get, and that's what it does. And it got the job done. It's not the greatest sound in the world. I could probably tweak with it a bit more and get it where I would want to at this point, but there's no point in going back. I'm just saying that's what I used, and it worked for the time, and it got the sound I wanted, so it was kind of cool. So yeah, amp simulator and impulse loader for the solo sections, and it's the same for the copy of solo. They're exactly the same. They're just 2 separate tracks, and that gives you what you hear in the song, and it works, and it's free stuff, so go for it if you're interested or you like what you heard. So for the guitar extras, what do I got? I have a delay on there, but I have it bypassed for some reason. I must not have liked it on there. And a channel strip. But I think these are, what are these? I think these are my actual amplifier. Yeah, it doesn't say, but I think, maybe not. Well, yeah, it's got to be. It is, because there's no amp simulator in it. Okay, so this is my actual guitar amp and cabinet making that sound. It is just filler. That's all it is, That's all it is, just filler to fill in gaps, and it's the same setup as my rhythm guitar sections. So, all right, now we can move on to the vocals. which is the fun part. Let me just kind of go back here a little bit. All right. Yeah, so the vocals. This is the fun part. All right. Let me see. All right, let's go to the beginning. And let's just kind of look at the vocals. Oh boy. All right, lead vocal. So what I have on the first lead vocal, this is what it sounds like. Let's play it right here. Solo that out.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't care about the presents.
Yep.
I just want you for my own.
So it's got this Roomworks, which is like Cubase's reverb plugin, and I have it to the church preset, which is cool. It's got this very echoey kind of churchy vibe. I guess that is the best way to describe it. And I had that on there to keep that Christmassy vibe, and I tried to match to the original, and they had quite a lot of reverb and stuff on that, so I wanted to emulate that. But if I bypass that, this is the vocal.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. I don't care about the presents. I just want you for my own.
So, which it sounds really dry. If I played that in the mix without the effect,
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
It just sounds.
I don't care about the presents.
It's very.
I just want you for my own.
I guess it could pass, but when you throw on that little bit of reverb, which I don't like using reverb as much anymore. I'm more of a delay kind of guy now, but.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There's just one thing I need. I don't care about the present.
It keeps that Christmassy, like, ooh, kind of vibe. And yeah, so if you're interested, there's the settings that I have on Cubase. If you're a Cubase user, and it's set on the church preset. Not sure if I tweaked with it after I hit the preset, but those are the settings. I might have messed with the mix a little bit. But yeah, so this is the basis for, I think, all... Nope. Okay, so vocal 1 and vocal 2 have that on there. And the copies, which are my doubles, don't. Because I think it was too overwhelming with both having reverb on there.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
Yeah, so that's dry. The back or the double / backup vocal for these parts is dry because the reverb was just too much and it drowned everything out. So I have the main lead vocal part with the verb on it, and then the double below it is dry, and it just makes it gives me the double effect without destroying it with reverb.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
So
I don't care about the presents. I don't need to hang my stocking. Santa Claus will make me happy.
And I also wonder, I think the dry one...
Santa Claus will make me happy.
Maybe not. Oops.
Santa Claus will make me happy.
No, it's a straight double. I was just wondering, because sometimes when I do these rougher vocals, I'll have... when I do doubles, the one will be a rough vocal, and then... the other one will be a clean version of that rough vocal. That way it keeps the melody if I'm kind of pitchy with the gritty kind of stuff with it. So it keeps it in the melodic range. But yeah, so I double them up like that. The bottom double is a dry, and the one above it's got that reverb on it.
I don't want a lot for Christmas.
That's the sound for this song, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for the other ones. So, same thing, just it's the same thing with those two vocals, just duplicated, so I have a way to go back and forth and not crossfade and kind of be lazy about it.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents. I underneath the Christmas tree. I don't need to hang my stocking there upon the fireplace. Santa Claus will make me happy with the joy of Christmas Day.
And that's pretty much the basis for the vocals, and that's about it. The rest is me just highly struggling to sing this song. Like I said, I did it in about 2 days with probably 6 hours of sleep between those 2 days, because that's when I was getting up early to go to work like I am now. And I probably had 3 hours of sleep a night because I was staying up late to finish this, because I would get out of work late and then go to work early or class. So I was staying up late, getting up early, and I was just grinding to get this thing out. I can't do that anymore. I just can't. But and I do it sometimes, but man, this killed me. And not to mention I was coming off of being super sick, which is not an excuse. This is a very hard song to sing in general, and I'm not the best at it, but I'm just saying it was rough. But it is what it is, and it was kind of a struggle. I had to simplify a lot of her stuff, but
Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you.
you can hear it a little bit. Like my growl is not.
All I want for Christmas is you.
And it's interesting to hear how my singing has kind of changed a little bit too, because this is like.
All I want for Christmas.
That's like ripping my throat out kind of stuff. My grit is really low in my throat. Now when I do it, it's up a lot higher, so it doesn't really hurt.
All I want for Christmas is you.
That kind of singing is like when you're clearing your throat, like super low. My other stuff is more up high, like if you're hacking up a loogie or something. Clearing your throat super low, hacking up a loogie up high. But
All I want for
Yeah.
Christmas is you.
this is a struggle.
Baby.
But I mean,
All I want for Christmas is you.
I still got it mostly. I think.
All I want for Christmas is you.
But yeah, it was just absolutely destroying my voice.
All the lights are shining so brightly everywhere.
Especially this part.
In the sound of children's.
It was too high. I had to pterodactyl screech.
In the sound of children's.
Yeah, listen to that. That is terrible.
In the sound of children's.
Oh, I doubled the. Really? Wait, what?
Laughter fills the air. In the sound
Sir.
of children's.
Oh, there it is. I did the wrong thing.
In the sound of children's laughter fills the air.
Oh God, that was rough right there.
In the sound of children.
That's my backup. But if I do, let me turn off the verb on this main.
In the sound of children's laughter fills the air.
Yeah, it was rough. It was very rough.
In the sound of children's laughter fills the air. And everyone was singing. I hear those sleigh bells ringing. Santa, won't you bring me the one I really need? Won't you please bring my baby to me?
Oh my God, me e.
Please bring my baby to me.
Yeah, it was a struggle. If I haven't said that enough, because I had very bad scratchy vocal technique. It's all down low, which is not good. So I've researched, but yep, that's pretty much the main vocals. And as you could hear in a lot of those sections, and as you could see, I have my background vocals, and those are like the gospel choir. That's kind of the effect that I was going for, because she has like a gospel-ish choir in the original, and I wanted to I didn't want to do another MIDI plugin or a MIDI instrument to do that. So wait, hold on. Do I have anything on the? Oh, so for the vocals, I have a little bit of EQ. I forgot to mention that earlier. Nothing on the backups, but the lead I have a little bit of EQ just to make it stick out. Anyway, the background vocals, I wanted to create kind of my own gospel choir in a sense, which looking back now, I mean, I guess it gives the effect. It's just kind of drowned in reverb. But, you know, it is what it is. So, for all three of the background vocals, I have another instance of Roomworks SE with Cubase. And I have it on the background choir preset, which is fitting. And it works. And what this is like I said, the gospel part, and it just kind of adds to the Christmassy vibe. So another time I thought that was kind of a gospel-y. I think it still kind of gives that effect. Like if I hold on, let me unsolo those. Let's solo the backup and the leads. And
there is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree.
See, it adds that Christmassy vibe to it. It's got that gospel-y.
Santa Claus will make me happy with a toy on Christmas Day. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true.
Yeah, that was fun to make. Like, it was fun to do. I was just kind of screwing around and I ended up liking it, which, you know, it fits the song.
There upon the fireplace, Santa Claus will make me happy with a toy on Christmas Day. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true.
That's honestly the one thing that I wish I would have done differently with the mix among the million things that I would do now is with the background vocals. I would have turned them up just a teensy bit more because I thought they were really cool when I was making them, and when I recorded them and added them into this song. I really wanted people to hear it, and I thought I did, but, you know, reality hits you in the face, and once I heard it later on some more accurate sound speakers, it was disappointingly lower than what I wanted. So I would have turned them up just a little bit more. Maybe dialed back a little bit of that reverb so it doesn't drown everything and make it sound like you're in some giant room underwater. But I would have definitely turned them up just a hair. Just to bring them out just a little bit more. Because, yeah, I thought it was really cool. This next part, is this? No, it's this part, the struggle part. So this was cool too. I mean, it's just another instance of the backup vocals. I'm not really being analytical right now. It's just kind of fun.
All the lights are shining so brightly everywhere, yet the sound of children's laughter fills the air, and everyone was singing. I hear those sleigh bells ringing. Santa, won't you bring me the one I really need? Won't you please bring my baby to me? I don't want a lot for Christmas. This is all I'm asking for. I just want to see my baby standing right outside my door. I just want her for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is...
All right. So, yeah. I wanted to recreate a gospel choir essentially for the backups for this, just to match it to the original somewhat. Keep that Christmassy atmosphere going and make it kind of a bigger, more girthy kind of song. And I think it achieved it, not as well as I would hoped, but it did the job. And that's the background vocals. So I guess next I can kind of take a look. Well, no, you guys can go back and listen, honestly. I mean, I'm breaking down the mix of it all, not the sections of it. Because the rest, it's just pretty much the song, a metal version with my own section in the middle and then the end. And that's the gist of it. Well, I will say, with this last part, I was dead. My voice.
All I want for Christmas is you, baby.
I've got the screeching part for the lead.
All I want for Christmas is you, baby.
And it's slightly off pitch. And then I got these background.
All I want for Christmas is you, baby. All I want for Christmas is you, baby.
I didn't see, but that's the kind of thing too. When you just do things that sound right, and if you didn't hear in there, there's a certain one of these 3 tracks is kind of funky, and
All I want for Christmas.
the other ones I was just doing basically 3 of the same thing, maybe with like a major third or something in there. But with these, let me see. Let me just listen to the first one. What's that sound like?
All I want for Christmas is you, baby.
So it's supposed to be like probably an octave lower, but it sounds really unenthusiastic. All I want for Christmas. It just sounds really, baby,
All I want for Christmas is you,
baby. It sounds just like I'm not even trying. And okay, so what's this middle one?
baby. All I want for Christmas
It's
is
supposed to be an octave up, or
you, baby.
no? I think it's just supposed to be kind of like a different voice. It's the same notes, but it's supposed to be a different voice so that it sounds like 2 different people, I guess. Because you got just listen to the difference. You got the lazy,
Christmas
and then you got this guy.
you, baby.
They're both lazy, but
All I want for Christmas is you, baby.
just sounds like some drunk people trying to sing a song. But okay, so the third one must be the one I'm thinking of. So this third one sounds kind of funny. So I got Elmo. This is the third background here. Guess I was trying to go an octave higher, sound like a female. I'm not sure. Either way, I mean, they sound stupid on their own, but when you put them together, they don't sound that bad. That sounds like a handful of people singing, maybe in a choir. I don't know. But it's only a backup, so it's not like the main thing. It's just to kind of reinforce the main screechy pterodactyl vocals. You can't even really hear them that much. Yeah, and at that point when I was recording this last part, my voice was gone. Like I said, I was coming back from being super sick, and this entire song was trying enough for my voice. And I had been like doing all these takes. I probably did hundreds of takes for this song, for all the different parts. And then I got to this last part, and I think this was the Thursday night before the Friday that I released this. I don't remember what time I released this at, but I knew it was on a Friday, pretty sure. And I was working on this the night before. It was probably like 3 a.m, and I had to get up the next day. I had to get up the next day for work at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was up until probably 3 or 4. And I remember, like, I got no sleep and I was dead, but I was happy that I got this done. You know, man, oh man. Yeah, this was the night, or not, maybe not the night before, but the day before. So this was Thursday during the day, and then I did the video, and then I was editing until about 3 in the morning. And, yeah, I was editing the video until about 3 in the morning, and then I rendered it, and then I went to bed for like an hour. I got up, it was done. I hit upload, let it upload while I was at work, published it, bam, done deal. So it was a very rushed song. Because I did Black Death. I wanted to put them both out. I wanted to put this out before Christmas. And I did. It's could use some polish, but it accomplished what I wanted to do. And in terms of my recording covers thing, it was kind of a big step because this was a very big song. You know, it took me way out of my comfort zone in terms of singing. And in terms of just the entire song, it was a lot of work that got put into it, and there's a lot of different pieces to it. But it was kind of a challenge, and I encourage challenges like that, but it definitely challenged me. Not guitar-wise. The guitar was fine. Coming up with that stuff is not the problem. The usual writer's block, but that's about it. But the vocals were what were killing me, because, man, oh man, that was rough. But like I said, I got it done. I don't think it's terrible. It was one of my more favorite covers to do since, well, I have more favorites now, but at the time it was my favorite one because it was so epic and it was a challenge for me, and I thought I did a decent enough job. It kind of validated me a little bit in terms of my voice. Like, I know I'm not an amazing singer or anything, but I can at least kind of, sing on pitch. And this was a very different style to try to sing, and a very difficult song to try to sing. So, it is what it is, and it's not my most popular cover by any means, but it was still fun to do. And I also heard recently that I think All I Want for Christmas Is You is now like rated the #1 most hated Christmas song. So that's a thing. But, yeah, this mix was, oh my God, this was a pain in the ass. I just gotta say, and just recording it was a pain in the ass. Cause I mean, if you look at the project as a whole, that's what it looks like. That is, what it looks like as a whole. I guess what I'll do before I finish this up is I'll pull up the mix console just to show you guys an overall look at the mix console. So, not much was really thrown around in any weird way. Let me just move this little over here. So this is all the tracks lined up. I was not the greatest. I'm still not the greatest, but this was not my prime time in terms of mixing. But then again, it was rushed and all that fun stuff. So, there's some leeway because you'll see a lot of the faders are kind of set at 0. But, I didn't know the things back then that I know now. And even now, I don't know that much. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I would change. But, you can't change the past. And I think leaving it like this is a cool way to kind of mark a milestone in terms of my progression through music production and my performance style and all that fun stuff. But, yeah, this is just kind of what it looks here. I'll hit play, actually, so you can see the faders moving. So let's go to the beginning of the song and hit play. And I'll pull up the faders.
Oh, I don't want
Ooh, pretty lights.
Christmas. There's just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you. I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents.
Look at those vocal meters.
I don't need to hang my
Yeah, so, you know, it's a lot of pretty lights. A lot of tracks, a lot of things to mix that I didn't end up really mixing. I just kind of left them as they were and mixed around them, I guess would be the term. But, you know, it was a cool experience. It was fun to do. I was just thinking of, oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention before I went and let you guys go was that there were a couple times, and this is how you know I was rushed, because I hate doing this now. Listen to this one vocal take here.
I don't care about the present.
Now, some of you who don't record may not have caught that, but this little spot right here is peaking.
I don't care about the present.
And peaking is when you talk into a microphone or make a sound that's too loud for the microphone and it gets distorted, and not the good kind of distorted. And the way you could tell is if you listen, it's very
I don't care about the...
It kind of it like crackles, and then like if you zoom in even more, let me go up here. You can see if you really look at it. Whoop whoop. Let me move this over like this. It may not look like it entirely, but you can see, like, look at the other parts of the waveform, like right here. You can see how they're really like hilly and up and down, and there's highs and lows, and they're all over the place. But then you look at this part right here where it gets crackly. It seems like they took a razor blade and went and like shaved off the top and bottoms of those waveforms. That's because it peaked. And there's a couple instances of that happening in this very cover, which is not something I would allow to happen now unless it was intentional. But if I was just recording a vocal take for a song and then it clipped, I would have to turn my gain down and adjust for that so that I can get it right. And then, you know, I wouldn't let it clip like that, but that's how you know I was rushing, because I left many instances of that happening in this cover. I'm not going to go searching for all of them, but you can hear. If you get anything that sounds like that take,
I don't care about the present.
And sometimes, you know, like I said, that can be cool, and especially if you do it intentionally, it can be an interesting effect, but I wasn't intentionally doing that on this. It happened, and I had to leave it in because I was like, good enough, and because I was rushed, and that's kind of what happens. I think even maybe this one was a bit peaked, maybe. Yeah, this one peaked too, up in the sound, the high, like, the high crackle.
The sound. Yeah, the sound of children's.
Yeah, the bottom one didn't. That one's fine. The top one definitely clipped or peaked.
Yeah, the sound.
But you can hear it. Yeah, so that clipped too. But, you know, in the overall mix, like, it just feels like I hit a really high pterodactyl sound, but that's, you know, fun stuff and all. That looks very weird. You don't see waveforms, but wow, if you want to look at my song as a colorful thing of blocks, that's what it looks like. Wow. That's an interesting look. I never knew it did that, but you know, it is what it is. So that's, I think, all that I wanted to talk about and mention in this mix dissection. If I missed anything, let me know. If you have any more questions that you didn't get to answer because you weren't here for this live, or you were and you thought of something different and something you forgot to ask, definitely go ahead and do that. I do not mind. I will answer anything that I can. Last couple of notes. If I were to do anything different with this mix, I would definitely change up the guitar tones. I would dial back some of the reverb on some of the vocals, because although you want to have it for that kind of Christmassy song thing, when I was trying to emulate the original, I feel like it's too much. Maybe not for the backgrounds. Maybe those can stay verbized the way they are, but the leads, I think, need to dial back a little bit of the reverb. I would definitely fix the couple vocal takes that have those clipped sections in them. And I would definitely change the drums out, because I use a different thing for drums now, and for the bass, I definitely use something different now too. And for the most part, beyond that, I wouldn't really change much, because the layout of it's fine. I like the section that I added myself. It's just, hindsight's 2020, and now that I have a lot more knowledge and better equipment and stuff like that to do better recording, I want to use them. I wish I could have back then, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I'm not going to break it down section by section. Like I said, this is a mix dissection, so it's looking at the mix, not exactly the song. If you want to listen to the song, I could put a link down for you to go look at it, or a card or whatever, or just search it on my channel and you'll find it. Go listen to it yourself, then come back and you'll go, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to cut it off. I don't have anything else to say. So like I said, if you joined in, thanks. If you have any more questions, leave them down. And this was fun. So like I always say, thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and tuning in. And I will see you in the next video. Stay metal, my friends. And I need to click the end button, so just skip over this awkward part. Okay, bye!